The classroom erupted in laughter. Cruel whispers echoed through the air. All eyes were on him, the boy with the big dreams and the small stature. They said he'd never make it, that his goals were too lofty, his ambitions too grand. But this boy had something they couldn't see, something that burned brighter than their mockery, an unbreakable spirit. Tommy Wilson was just 12 years old, but he carried the weight of 1,000 doubts on his narrow shoulders. Every day was a battle against the world that seemed determined to crush his dreams. He wanted to be an astronaut, to touch the stars and explore the vast unknown. But in this small town, where dreams rarely stretched beyond the county line, Tommy's aspirations were met with scorn and disbelief. Space is for smart kids, his classmates would sneer. You can barely pass math. Their words stung, but Tommy clenched his fists and held back tears. He wouldn't let them see him cry. Not again. At home, things weren't much better. His parents, worn down by years of financial struggle, couldn't understand why their son couldn't just be content with a normal life. "Why can't you be more realistic?" his father would sigh, shaking his head. "There are good jobs at the factory." Tommy's room became his sanctuary. Posters of galaxies and rocket ships covered the walls. At night, he'd stare out his window, imagining himself floating among the stars. But each morning brought him crashing back to Earth, to the harsh reality of a world that seemed determined to clip his wings. The science fair was supposed to be his moment to shine. For weeks, Tommy worked tirelessly on his project, a detailed model of the solar system, complete with hand-painted planets and a motorized orbit. He poured his heart and soul into every detail, staying up late into the night to get it just right. But as he stood before the judges, explaining his creation with trembling hands and a voice full of passion, he saw it in their eyes. That look of pity, of adults humoring a child's impossible dream. One judge even chuckled, asking if Tommy wouldn't rather build something more practical. Tommy's cheeks burned with shame. He wanted to disappear, to run away and never look back. The laughter of his classmates rang in his ears as he carried his project home, the carefully crafted planets now feeling like lead weights in his arms. That night, alone in his room, Tommy cried. He cried for his broken dreams, for the mockery, for the world that seemed so determined to tell him no. He wanted to quit, to give up on the stars and settle for a life with both feet firmly on the ground. But as he lay there, surrounded by the universe he had created, something stirred deep within him. A tiny spark of defiance, of hope that refused to be extinguished. Tommy sat up, wiping his tears away with the back of his hand. He looked at the model solar system, at the dreams it represented. And in that moment, he made a promise to himself. A promise that would change everything. "I won't give up," he whispered fiercely. "No matter what anyone says, no matter how many times I fail, I'll reach the stars. Someday, somehow, I'll prove them all wrong." From that day forward, Tommy attacked his goal with a determination that surprised everyone. He threw himself into his studies, spending hours in the library devouring every book on space and astronomy he could find. His grades began to improve, slowly but steadily, when his classmates mocked him. Tommy just smiled and kept working. When his teachers expressed doubt, he asked for extra assignments. He joined every science club, entered every competition, and never stopped reaching for the sky. Years passed. The boy grew into a young man, his resolve only strengthening with time. There were setbacks, of course. College rejections that felt like punches to the gut. Failed exams that made him question everything. Nights spent staring at the ceiling, wondering if everyone had been right about him all along. But Tommy refused to let go of his dream. He picked himself up after every fall, dusted himself off, and tried again. And again. And again. Finally, after years of relentless effort, it happened. The acceptance letter arrived, NASA's elite training program. Tommy's hands shook as he read the words, tears of joy streaming down his face. He had done it. He had taken the first step towards touching the stars. The day Tommy left for training, the whole town turned out to see him off. The same people who had laughed at him now cheered, pride shining in their eyes. His old teachers shook his hand, his classmates asked for autographs. But it was his parents' embrace that meant the most, their whispered words of "We race so proud of you," healing wounds he didn't even know he still carried. As the bus pulled away, Tommy looked back at his hometown. He thought of the boy he had been, scared and doubting, but never quite willing to give up. He smiled, knowing that boy would be proud of the man he had become. Years later, as Commander Thomas Wilson floated in the International Space Station, gazing down at the blue marble of Earth below, he remembered that promise he had made to himself so long ago. He had kept it. He had reached the stars. And as he pressed his hand against the window, feeling the vastness of space around him, he whispered a message to that young boy who refused to give up: "We did it. We proved them all wrong." Tommy's story spread, inspiring countless others to chase their own impossible dreams. It became a reminder that the greatest limits we face are often the ones we place on ourselves. That with courage, determination, and an unwavering belief in oneself, even the stars are within reach. So, the next time someone tells you that your dreams are too big, that you'll never succeed, remember Tommy Wilson. Remember the boy who refused to give up, who turned mockery into motivation, and who proved that with enough perseverance, even the impossible becomes possible. Because in the end, it's not about how many times you fall. It's about how many times you get back up, dust yourself off, and keep reaching for the stars. Your next try might be the one that changes everything. Would you have given up if you were in Tommy's shoes? Or would you have found the strength to keep pushing forward, no matter the odds? If this story touched your heart, and if this story inspired you, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this. And remember, every great journey begins with a single step. What will yours be?